Hey everyone, welcome to this video for how to put together an Aquila cedar 2x4 picnic table. Congrats on purchasing your kit, hope you enjoy it. Here we go. So we'll start off first, want to lay out our table stretchers on the table. Make sure your good face is facing out, so that's the side you'll see. Then we'll take our two 2x4s, one on each side. Make sure they're exactly 6 feet long. If you have to trim them, do so as needed. So we'll start on this one here. We want a 4.5 inch overhang here and a 1/2 inch on the side too. Use a tape measure or ruler, it doesn't really matter. Once you have that in position, just one screw. And come to the other side. 4.5 again as well, with a 1/2 inch overlap on the side. This side next. So 4.5 inch over the edge with a 1/2 inch overlap on the side. So again, 4.5 here and 1/2 inch on the side. Screws to install these boards. So 4.5. Now before I secure this board, we need to measure the width of the table because they need to be the same on both sides. So I have 31.5 inches. 31.5. And you can adjust this side as needed. It should be fairly close. Next up, we need to make sure the tabletop is going to be square. So using a tape measure, we're going to go from far corner to far corner, diagonally across the tabletop. So I'm about 8.5 inches on a diagonal to make it square. Your table may vary a little bit. And we'll use another 4 screws and we'll secure all 4 corners again to keep it square now. These ones, put your screws on a bit of an angle so they don't pop through the bottom of the stretcher. Now that we have all those secured, we're going to put in the rest of our tabletop boards. So you'll need another 6 boards. spacing should be between 3/8 and 7/16 of an inch. So this is where a ruler is going to really come in handy. It doesn't have to be exact, but as close as you can be as possible. So if you're a little off, that's okay, just eye it up, just so you're happy with it. And before we tighten those down, we want to square up the one end, just flush everything out. Just try and use a straight edge, or you can use one of the seat boards you have in your kit. You don't have anything straightened up. So the straight edge I just used, I'm going to use as a screw guide to keep all my screws in line. If you have clamps, that's great. If not, try and have a helper just to help hold down the straight edge for you. So each board will take 2 screws each. So when I use a straight edge, I don't sink the screws all the way down, because if I hit the heads against here, it's going to push my straight edge away. If I leave them up a little bit, once they're all in, take the straight edge away, and then finish up driving them in. Now when you put your screws in, just have the head below the surface of the wood, okay? Don't punch it too far or it's going to hold water and could create some rot. Now only do 1 screw per board, because when we go to flush up the other end, we might have to move them around a bit, so we want them to be able to move. Now we got that side secure, we'll go do the other side now. And again, we're going to try to go for about 7/16 of an inch to 1/2 inch, depending on the width and how it is. So I got all those boards spaced evenly, and I'll use my straight edge again. So I'm lining my straight edge up to the Robertson head inside the screw. So same thing again. We want to put our screw down as far as we can, but leave this head above here so we don't bump it. So we're the straight edge. And these ones you can sink all the way, don't have to go every other. So remember, it's just below the surface of the wood. As well. Well, now we have our tabletop all secure. We're going to want to flip her over. Draw a bit of a rough surface, let's protect the tabletop when we flip her over. So we're going to want to grab our 4 legs. But these we want to have the good face as well, facing out. We're going to use the 3.5-inch carriage bolts. You might have to use a hammer or a mallet of some type just to help the carriage bolts go through if there's any wood debris in there. I just like to get them started through so you know where to go. Now again, I'm choosing the best side to face out because that's the side you're going to see mostly. So put your washer and your nuts on the back. When doing these, we just want to finger tighten them right now. Don't want to reach down yet. What we're doing is just we're holding them on so they don't come off. Next, you'll want to grab your seat stretchers. And we'll be putting these on with 3.5-inch carriage bolts as well. Now with these ones, you want to make sure your good face is facing out as well. why we left those other bolsters finger tight, so we have some room to maneuver these legs. I just do one per side first, just to get started. And then we'll go back and put in the other two. May need a hammer just to help it through a little bit with any wood debris in there. And we'll go to the other side. Once you all So with these, we're going to go finger tight again as well. And we'll do our final tighten with either a 7/16 wrench or a driver or socket if you have it. I'm going to use my driver to tighten these up. Careful not to over tighten. You just want the head just to be nice and snug, or if you suck it too far, it will go right through. If you want to start down here, you want the edge of the leg to be flush with the tabletop. You just want to keep these snug. You may need to tighten them up as the wood dries out. And the same on the other side. So, top of the leg, flush to the tabletop. This is going to go in the center of the table. Looks like this. And this one we need to position directly in the middle. come just a little bit, 1/28 and 1/8 over for center on both sides. And you'll want to set it in 1/2 inch. Now if you have a drill to pre-drill these, it helps a lot, but if you don't, that's okay, just hold it tight. You're going to use the 2.5 inch screws to secure this. And go to the other side and do the same, directly in the middle. If you are pre-drilling them, just make sure you pre-drill only through the table cleat, not through the table boards. Now once you have those two secure, now you can just go ahead and drill all the holes you'll need. So now we have all the holes drilled for our table plate. If any of the boards have any bends in them or anything, they're not quite straight, and one of our holes is tight here between the boards, what we can use is a pry bar and try and straighten them out as we go along screwing the boards down. So this one here is a bit tight. I've got the boards fairly straight now, so now you can just go ahead and screw down the rest of the boards. And you're going to be using 2 screws per board. Now we have all that done, that's secured, we're going to want to grab our diagonal braces. And they look like so. These are going to go in the middle, just have to eye them up closely. This gap here is the center of the table, so you can just eye it up. And the top should be just flush with the bottom. This would be the bottom of the table facing up, with the bottom of the seat stretcher. It'll be the same on each side. And even again. You'll secure this using the 3-inch screws. And you can come to the end, just kind of eye it up to make sure it looks straight and even. And you'll secure it by screwing through the end or the side of the seat stretcher. you screw this in, make sure your screws are down far enough so they don't pop out here. Now if you have a drill with a drill bit in it, you want to pre-drill this ends, you can. I'll do it both ways just to show you each way. So we're just toe-nailing the screws in. Don't tighten it down quite yet, because you'll want to pre-drill the other side, because if you don't, you can tighten it down, you'll push the board off the center. So again, just toe-nailing it in again. Go tight. Now for this one, you'll want to start just a bit straight, and then we're going to turn it over as it goes in, the toenail in. Now stop just before the head starts to bury itself into the wood, and come around to the other side again. And finish tightening up this side as well. Once you have that all done, you go ahead and flip the table over onto its feet on the ground. So now that we have the table on the ground, we're going to want to start with our seats. Now with this, it's important to have a nice clean edge to face out, so this is what you're going to see. We'll lay down 3 there. The last one closest to the inside of the table, you want to make sure you have a nice clean edge again as well, in case of your legs are brushed up against it, you don't get any sponges or anything. And then we'll do the same again on the other side as well. So good edge facing out. Good edge of the last one close to the inside, good edge facing in. Now we'll start with the edge that we had flushed up. So we're going to go 4.5 inches again, with a 1/2 inch past the edge of the seat stretcher. And we'll secure that with 3H screws. And then again on this side, 1/2 inch. And 4.5. Now with this, we're going to try and space these boards out the same again as the top, so around 7/16 to 1/2 inch. You have to have something straight, like a small straight edge. Use that just to flush up the ends. And then I'm going to use this straight edge to line up my screws for putting them in, keep them nice and clean. So starting off with just one screw per board so we can adjust the other side. Second screws per board, I'm just starting them into the 2x4s. I'm not putting them in through the seat stretchers quite yet. So measure out your gaps again, about ½ inch approximately. And then use your square or a little straight edge. Put all your screws in the line. Screwing in the screws on the other side. So I'm going to start here on the first, on the other side here, closest to you. Never mind, scrap that one.
Thank you.
So we're going to do the bench seat now. So I've gotten started already. I put the first one down, it's already screwed down. So we're going to do a 4.5 inch overlap here with a ½ inch overhang. And we're on this side here. I've done the ½ inch overlap, but we're a little long here because some of these boards are over 6 feet. So the overhang we want on this end because the other side is what we flushed up. So we're going to be, that's our working end. We screwed that with a 3-inch screw on both sides. And then working from back, working off this one, we're going to measure ½ inch gaps between each board. And then if you have a speed square or a square of some sort, you can use that as a straight edge to put your screws in with. Just for this, I'll use a clamp just to hold that there so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I'll secure one board each with one screw. Now I'm leaving the head of the screw above the square just so I don't knock it out. And this one I'm going to leave high. It's just into the board, it's not into the seat stretcher. And the screw on the outside, we'll want to angle it a bit, so if it does go through, it won't go through the bottom of the seat stretcher angle there. And we'll leave that one high as well. So again, we want to measure ½ inch spacing Again, use our straight edge, speed square, whatever you may have to use. Now with this side, we can screw all the way down, but just leaving the head of the screw above the speed square, or whatever straight edge you may be using. And by leaving the screw head above the straight edge, you're to go all the way through, it's going to bump this away and your screws won't be straight. And again, we're going to angle this outside screw so it doesn't pop through the bottom of the angle on the seat stretcher. Once you have that done, you can go back and finish off your screws. And again, I'm just leaving the screw head below the surface of the wood. Now that we've got our seat sides both done, I tipped it up on the one end, one side there. If you put something like about 6 inches underneath, it'll hold it up quite nicely. Now I've marked 28 1/8 from this side over, the same as the table cleat, and this is going to be for our seat cleat. I've gone ahead and pre-drilled it already. If you don't have drilled, that's okay. We're going to want to set it in 1/2 inch from the edge of the seat and secure that with the 2.5 inch screws. And you can finish off screwing that in, and then you're going to be using 2 screws per board. And then once you have this one done, you can go ahead and do the other side. So now we have all of our seats and everything done, all the cleats are on. If you wanted to, we're going to trim the edges of the table, make it all nice and even, clean it up. Some of the boards, they're going to be a bit of a random length. Now that we have our seat cleats done, put it back on our feet, we're going to trim the edges. Sometimes the boards can be a little bit random on length, so they can be 6 feet and over. So our flush end will be even right now, but the other end will be uneven. So to finish that up, we're going to use a skill saw. What you do is for these ends here, on the 6-foot ones, measure 1/2 inch back, and on the seat ones here, this side on the flush end, you can measure 1/2 inch. But on these sides of the seats, if they're a bit over 6 feet, all you have to do is just look in between the gap here, just measure from the outside of the seat stretcher out 4 inches, and just mark on top of the board. So depending on the scale saw you have, you're going to measure between the distance of the inside of the blade and the outside of the foot here. That is going to be the distance you're going to measure from the line you put here, 1/2 inch back, to the edge of the fence here, or your straight edge, whatever you're going to be using. I've just chosen to clamp it down. If you don't have clamps, you can probably get someone to hold it down for you. When you're using skill cells, make sure you use your safety glasses and hearing protection. So keep this edge of the fence with the foot up against the fence to keep it nice and straight. Now we've had that one done, we'll go ahead and do the rest of them. So now we have all the edges done, everything all is a nice line. We're going to sand the edges, just the corners here, just to get rid of the burrs and everything. Clean them all up, give a nice appearance. And once you're all done that, you're all done your table, and if you wish, throw a nice coat of transparent stain on it just to keep the wood grain showing. And in the winter time, maybe tuck it away and loosen the bolts just so they can swell out a bit. Perfect. Thank you for watching this video. Hope it helped. Enjoy your table.